It happened one year in the city of Bardichev. They couldn't locate an esrog. It wasn't like today where you could just travel down to this 13th Avenue in Borough Park and just pick yourself up any esrog. In those days, it was a lot more effort. These were in the days they were in Europe, in Russia, and to locate an esrog was not easy. They didn't grow in these areas, and they had to be brought from very far places. And so it happened one year in Bardichev, the town of the holy Reb Levi of Bardichev. They couldn't locate an esrog. They looked high and low, far and wide, but to their utter dismay, there would be no locating an esrog that year. Instead, they would have to do without an esrog. But they wouldn't stand for this. And so when it happened, Erev Yom Tif, that a man happened to pass through the city, and he just happened to have an esrog, they were not about to let him leave without giving them his esrog. And so they came to him and they said, "What would you give us for the esrog?" And he said, "I'm not giving my esrog away. I need it. I'm going home to my family, and I want to make sure I have an esrog." And they said to him, "Well, we'd like you to stay here. You'll have an esrog to use here." He says, "But no, I need to get home to my family. My family's expecting me." They said, "Listen, we'll give you whatever you want. We'll compensate you, whatever money you tell us. Just stay here. You can stay here. You can enjoy your esrog still, but we need to have an esrog in this village we can use for Yom Tov." The man was adamant. He's not staying. He's not giving it. And so they tried to convince him. And finally they told him, "Listen, before you leave, go speak to our great rabbi, Reb Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev. Maybe he can convince you to stay or give you something that you would be happy with." He went to the Rebbe, and he told the Rebbe that he would stay on one condition. His condition was that the Rebbe, Reb Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev, give him his portion of the world to come, his portion of heaven. Whatever portion in heaven was destined for Reb Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev would now become this stranger's portion. Reb Levi said, "Not a problem. I'll write you up a contract. It will all become yours. It will be a binding contract here on earth and in heaven above." The man was elated. He went. He got the deal of a lifetime. He signed a contract with Reb Levi. He then agreed he would stay in the village for Yom Tov and then made his way to the town to try and find himself a place to stay. He comes into town, and to his horror, every single person in the town tells him, "We're not letting you stay in our house for Yom Tov. You're not allowed." The man is dumbfounded. Why? Why can't he stay in a simple place for Yom Tov? Why is he being stopped? And they finally tell him that by order of Reb Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev, they were not allowed to welcome him into their homes for Yom Tov. The man is outraged. He goes back to Reb Levi Yitzchak of Bardichev and says, "Reb Levi, we had a deal. What kind of thing is this that you're telling people not to let me into their house for Yom Tov? I gave you my word and will that I will stay here for Yom Tov. You'll have my esrog to use. You in turn gave me your will to come. That should be the end of the deal. No twists and turns over here. This is not a proper thing to do, especially for a holy rabbi like you." Reb Levi Yitzchak looked at him and simply said, "Bring me back the contract that you made with me for my world to come, and I'll let the people here give you a place to stay for Yom Tov." The man was furious. "Reb Levi, this is not the deal we made up." Reb Levi said, "You pick. The choice is yours. A place to stay for Yom Tov or the world to come." The man thought it over, and he said to himself, "A world to come can't compare to having Simchas Yom Tov." And so he ran. He brought Reb Levi back his contract. He said, "Here, take the contract. Let me now have a place to stay for Yom Tov." The man was dumbfounded how Reb Levi did this to him. But Reb Levi turned to him and said, "My friend, you now actually did acquire for yourself my portion in the world to come. Before, it was too simple. In heaven, they wouldn't let you have it that way. They wanted you to actually do a physical act in order to acquire yourself that portion of heaven. Now that you are actually willing to give up for a mitzvah my entire portion of heaven, now you are actually awarded it. You are actually given it. Now you may have it to yourself and be assured by staying here for Yom Tov, you will have that portion to yourself. And now you can stay here for Yom Tov, have a place to stay, and all will be good. This is a very important lesson to us. We go throughout our year doing different things, and sometimes we do mitzvahs without putting the proper intention into it. We think we'll just come, we'll make a contract, and we'll take a mitzvah. We'll just daven, we won't focus on the words. We think we'll just throw an action of Yiddishkeit, and we won't concentrate on what we're doing. A parent might just drop his kids off in a Jewish school and think that they'll take care of the rest. The school will do it for him. He doesn't have to have any part. Along comes Torah and says you actually have to have a part, an active part of a mitzvah. You can't just give it over and let yourself think that it's all done that way. Sukkos is a very interesting situation. On Hanukkah, if we go out and we buy a nice menorah, a nice silver menorah, we got a good deal. It's a nice silver piece. We're beautifying the mitzvah and we're getting a good deal for it. Purim, we buy a nice Megillah, we're getting a good deal for it. We buy a handwritten parchment that's for sure worth hundreds of dollars. On Sukkos, we're told to buy a fruit. And the going rate for this fruit is a fortune. We have to pay for a piece of fruit. A lemon, we pay $1. For this citron, the same family of fruit, we're paying anywhere from $20 to a couple $100 for a nice piece of fruit. What kind of thing is this? It makes us start thinking about what we're putting our money into, what we're putting our intentions into. Torah tells us to think about what our priorities in life are and what we spend our money on. There's a story that recently has come about into light about a man who passes away and leaves behind to his children 2 wills. This man was extremely, extremely wealthy, multi-millionaire Jewish man from Canada. In his first will, he leaves his children. He tells his children, I would like to be buried in a pair of red socks, which you'll find in my drawer on the top right corner. They go, sure enough, there is a pair of red socks. They come, they take it, and they find that they can no longer bury their father in these pair of socks because the Chevra Kadisha, the burial society, tells them Jewish law doesn't let you bury yourself in a pair of socks no matter what the color is. No socks can come along with you to the grave. They say, but our father wants to be buried like this. That's his final will. They say, was your father a religious man? They say, of course. They say, then trust me. If he was a religious man, he would not want to be buried in these socks. Forget about the socks. Make the levaya, make the funeral, and move on. And so they bury their father without the socks. 30 days later, they open the will that their father left behind to be opened 30 days later, and in it they discover a note from their father. I'm sure by now you went ahead and buried me without those socks. I'm sure you found out it would have been impossible to do so. But I would like you to realize, now that I've divided up my millions of dollars amongst you sons, my children, know that when the day comes that you leave this world, you can't take any of it with you. You can't even take a pair of socks with you. So be charitable, be kind, use your time wisely, spend it with your families, because in the end, you can't even have a pair of socks. Sukkos is an amazing lesson. We go outside into a sukkah. For children, it's a wonderful holiday. We step outside into the wild, into nature. It's exciting. But for us, it's a challenge. We actually have to go outside of our beautiful homes, our beautiful houses, our nice environments, and into this little dumpy sukkah. That's where we're going to eat our meals. For some of us, we sleep there. Some who have that custom. And we do everything in this little tiny hut. The lesson is to teach us that we cannot always think that we'll just have our beautiful houses and our beautiful cars and whatever else we have. We have to go outside, and this lesson of Sukkos teach us that we are at a point in life, and always in a point in life. We are always at Hashem's mercy. We're always at the mercy of Hashem, whatever is going to happen to us. Although we might think that we're surrounded by beautiful things, Sukkot makes us reflect on how unstable life can be. Life can be very complicated. Life can be in the lowest of dumps. It makes us realize that we are not in control. It's really Hashem who is in control of our lives and in control of our fate and in control of what will happen to us. So as we do the mitzvah of Sukkot, let's think to ourselves as following. 1, whatever money we have, whatever beautiful riches we have, as we go out into the sukkah, let it go. Realize that we could be one day with all our beautiful possessions and the next day living in a shack. It's all in Hashem's hands. It's all up to Hashem. Second point is that doing the mitzvah of Sukkot, or any mitzvah, is not enough. We have to actually be surrounded by it. The mitzvah of Sukkot is the only mitzvah where you're completely surrounded by the mitzvahs. Even though when you wear tzitzis, you might be surrounded on a lot of corners, you're not fully 360 degrees surrounded by the mitzvah of Sukkot. When you go into a sukkah, you're completely surrounded 4 walls by a sukkah. That's the lesson that Sukkah teaches us, to be completely surrounded, completely involved into the mitzvah, not just on Sukkot, but throughout the entire year. Take the mitzvahs, what we are doing, whatever it is, and be completely surrounded by it. Be completely surrounded by the mitzvah. Be completely surrounded by Hashem and His great Shekhinah and His great holiness. A good Sukkot to you.